Riverside, and welcome in. It is the playoff edition of Football Friday Night podcast here. I'm Adrian Broaddus, co-host is Galindo. We're back. We're winding down the season, and it's the bi-district round of the Texas State playoffs. We're here in the beautiful Sun City Sit Rep studios, and we're so excited to be back out here. Football Friday Night is brought to you by Warrior Allegiance, VP Marketing, and Sun City Sit Rep. Hey, if you're a business owner out there and you're looking to start a podcast, or if you're looking to ever be a part of a podcast, like a guest in a podcast, reach out to the team here at Sun City Sit Rep. Check them out on YouTube. Check them out on Instagram. Slide in their DMs or slide in our DMs. If you're interested in being featured, if you've got a great story for your business, reach out to the great team. They'll set you up in this awesome studio. You'll work with their amazing team. You'll talk to their great producers, and you'll see your vision come to life. You'll get some micro content out of that as well. They're not even charging for this one right here. So get with the Sun City Sit Rep team, and they can actually set you up with awesome podcast here in their beautiful studios. We're jumping right into it. It's the playoff edition here of Football Friday Night, and we're back here on the program. Couple teams hosting here in towns, and then others traveling out of town here for the bi-district round of the Texas State playoffs. Zay is back with me. We're back here after a big week here to close out the regular season. And Zay, that's where we'll start off. The regular season's close was as exciting as it gets. I mean, there wasn't a lot of good games last week, but you were at the best one of them all. Hanks taking on Chapin, and Chapin walking off with a field goal. How do you just encapsulate that game that just was back and forth from the get-go?
Yeah, that was an absolute classic. I mean, Hanks being able to fight back, really come out firing on all cylinders in the second half. Great atmosphere. You know, November games can get a little, I wouldn't say empty, but, you know, the cold starts to hit, you know, people have other things to do. No, this one was packed out. A great home game for Hanks, and great all-around ending. Jonathan Reyes hits a 35-yarder to give Chapin the district championship.
It was a really interesting game, and what was on the line was seeding implications, right? I mean, Hanks had the ability, if they ended up winning that game, to move up in the seedings, and Chapin, they still had an outside shot to host a playoff game before that one. It didn't ultimately end that way, but speaking of end, what an end to the regular season and varsity regular season for Davion Singleton. We talked so much about him, but in that final drive that you were alluding to right there, orchestrating a lot of things to make it happen, including a key 4th and 5 that you called on Football Friday Night Live with us, where he takes it for about 16 or so yards as a quarterback scramble right there. Just talk about his play, and we talk about Davion a lot here on this program, but just your thoughts on him.
Yeah, I mean, look, you saw it at first against Del Valle. Steps in at quarterback, only his second game of the season at quarterback. Leads his team down the field for a game-winning touchdown drive, and he basically did the same thing here. I mean, this time, I think it was a minute left. They had no timeouts, and they faced some 4th downs on there, and he willed the team there. When it got tough, he was the guy they leaned on, and he has so much experience now. He's played so many games that, them leaning on him, it was no issue for him. He got the job done, and just composed. I didn't see this guy freak out on the sideline when things started to go wrong. He was on the sideline watching. He was composed, and as soon as he got his opportunity, he took it and he led his team down the field.
So then here's what we're going to do next. We're going to jump into the bi-district round of the playoffs. We're going to talk about all these El Paso area teams. Next week, we might not have a lot of teams to talk about. We might have close matchups to recap from this past week in the bi-district round. We're hoping that as many teams can get to the area round of the Texas State playoffs for all the ones that we cover, because obviously it's El Paso versus everybody in the state of Texas, and you're always cheering on the city, the 915. Years past, it's been tough, and I don't want to make too many predictions, because I think when you talk playoff predictions, you get caught with egg in your face. But I do want to say that if there was ever a year for a team to maybe go 3 rounds, even 4 rounds in the Texas State playoffs, it could be a year like this where you've seen competition rise in the city of El Paso, and these teams really elevate their own games.
Yeah, and I do have a bit of a hot take, and I think that, Region 1 in Texas is probably the toughest region in my opinion, right? You got all the West Texas team, you got the El Paso teams, and you got a good bulk of those good Dallas Fort Worth teams.
True.
And usually the winner out of Region 1 is perennially going to be in that state championship, having a tough game. I mean, Pebble Hills played North Crowley a couple years ago in the area round. The list goes on. There's a lot of good 6A, 5A, and 4A teams coming out of Region 1, so it's already a tough road for El Paso teams, and we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. There is a lot of talent.
And then just to harp on it a little bit more, I mean, you got to credit some of the teams who you even see in the top seeds, right? Like, think about Eastwood, think about Del Valle, think about teams like Ysleta, think about teams across the city of El Paso, even like a Franklin or a Pebble Hills or even an Eastlake. Like, those teams schedule really tough non-district matchups before they get into district play, and they sometimes travel out of the city. Sometimes they'll bring those teams here to El Paso, and it's to prepare them for the playoffs. So we'll see how much that plays into it all. And I always use the Eastwood reference. They go off and play a nationally ranked St. John Bosco. Like, no one in the Texas State playoffs, unless they get into real like Elite Eight territory or Final Four territory, is going to be on that level of like a St. John Bosco.
That's true. I mean, and look, you're always going to have people talking this and the third, but look, Eastwood going to play St. John Bosco, like it definitely has prepared them for, this moment against Friendship, in the bi-district round. And you need to play teams like that. You need to schedule hard, because if you end up just scheduling, the 7th or 8th seed from 4A, it's just you think you're going to get an easy win. That's really not going to prepare you for much when it's time to have some guts in the playoffs. And that's why I like a team like Eastwood, come this time of year, because they're not afraid to schedule hard. They're not afraid to face the tough battles, because it really does prepare them down the road.
Football Friday Night's coverage is on Friday for all the playoff action. We'll recap Thursday's games, and we'll take you through all the big games on Friday. For Friday's games, we'll get to those in a sec, but to start off with Thursday, it's Lubbock Cooper taking on Del Valle, and it's a Lubbock Cooper squad who's 6-4. Don't be fooled by their record, taking on a 9-1 Del Valle squad whose only loss comes to Chapin in district play. When you look at Del Valle, give me some of the players you want to spotlight or some of the players you want to shine here going into this matchup here against a tough Lubbock Cooper squad.
I got to go with the high-flying quarterback wide receiver duo of Jake Fetty and Josiah Nunez. I mean, those two guys, I found the Andress and Del Valle highlights on YouTube, and I just got to say that they just have such a good connection. I feel like anytime Jake Fetty's in some trouble, he finds his guy Josiah Nunez open down the field, and this guy's big. He's a legit 6'2", 6'3" wideout. He moves very fluidly, and those two together, they've played really good last year. I mean, last year I think they had his brother Ryu Nunez. Now it's Josiah Nunez, and they're both great wideouts. And this year Josiah has really just blown me away. He's really stepped up into that wide receiver 1 role that Del Valle desperately needed.
Okay, my key for this one right here, when I'm looking at Del Valle, Lubbock Cooper, on one side with Cooper, 6-4, don't be fooled by the record, right? They have a balanced attack. They like to throw the ball, run the ball. They can kill you in both ways. They can score fast Tuesday. That's what kind of worries me a little bit. They control the ball. Time of possession's a big deal for them. Key to the game for me is third downs. Can Del Valle's defense force Cooper into third down situations where they can't get out of it? And then on the flip side, can Jake Fetty execute on third downs? And they're going to go for it on fourth downs. Like, if they're going for it fourth down on their own 38-yard line, I'm not going to be surprised, because that's kind of been the identity of this team all season long. And I know that, Jake Fetty's about to close a chapter on this high school journey for him. He is one of the best recruits that's ever come out of the city of El Paso. He'll be playing at Arizona State, a Power 4 school, next year under Kenny Dillingham, a guy who coached his team last year to the college football playoff and has seen guys go into the NFL and have success. So I look at Jake Fetty, and to close out this year, close out this chapter right here, this is another one. You got to put the Superman cape on, and you got to go out there and try to win this game out here. And I think he could do it. He's that kind of guy. A couple other names to keep an eye out for on the defensive side. You mentioned Josiah Nunez. I love Abraham Garcia and what he's been able to do in that secondary as well. How about some of those linebackers? Mateo Santabayez. He's been outstanding all season long too, and he can be somebody who can rush the passer and get after it. He's got to make some big plays for them defensively. in order for them to, maintain kind of a closer game in this one. It could be a shootout, and Del Valle's hosted these kinds of shootouts. Jake Fetty's played in these kinds of shootouts before, and last year, despite having a little success, in the regular season, in the postseason, they ran into a buzzsaw. What can they do this year differently that sets them apart, and then it allows them to advance in the outside the bi-district round? I think a lot of, like, if you look at it from top to bottom in this city of like expectations, I mean, expectations are high for this Del Valle bunch, knowing it's a senior-laden squad and they've got a lot of upperclassmen on their team. Yeah,
I mean, you got to rely heavily on your defense. I think that last year their defense kind of buckled a little bit in the playoffs. Not a lot, not a big down on them, but this year they really need to rely on their defense, and I think their defense is better this year, honestly. Like, every close game they've been in, their defense has been the shining star of that. Even in their loss, I mean, they only gave up 23 points to Chapin. In their close win against Canutillo, they only give up maybe 16 points. Like, in those games, their defense is the one that steps up. And so I guess maybe I'm talking myself into flipping that. Their offense needs to step up, which sounds weird, right? It sounds weird when you have a guy like Jake Fetty on your team. It sounds weird when, we're constantly mentioning Del Valle in these shootouts, but I mean, they only put up 22 points against Chapin. They only put up 23 points against Canutillo. They need to really, really step it up because, like you said, this could be a shootout. And, of course, you have Jake Fetty on your team. You have a gunslinger, but you really need to find ways to continue to score the ball. And like you said, on third downs for that Del Valle defense, I think the same could be said for third down for Del Valle's offense. And a lot of that, is going to rely on Jake Fetty's legs. He uses his legs a lot, and I think he's going to have to use them a lot in this game. If he gets over 100 rushing yards, that's probably – I don't want to say if that's a good or bad sign, but I can see that definitely happening because, I mean, they get into these third and long situations. The good thing about having a guy like Jake Fetty, he knows how to improvise on a play. He knows how to use his legs, and he's so dangerous when he's doing it. So, I'm really excited about this one. I think Del Valle's offense is really going to need to come together in it.
Okay, let's go over the other games on Thursday. Pebble Hill 7-3 taking on San Angelo Central 6-4. That's a 6 o'clock start out of 6A, and that's on the road. Tough one right there for the Spartans. Bel Air 1-8, by the way. They're at Abilene. Man, that's... Wow, 9-1 Abilene. You want to face that team right there? No way. Hank 6-4 on the road at Amarillo Palo Duro, who is 9-1. That's another one. I mean, it's like you really want to play that team right there. That's a really tough matchup. Out of the 4A ranks, how about Canyon 6-4, who's just won these close games? We talked about this off air, but just close games in 4A. They're taking on Ysleta, who's a perfect 10-0. Haven't done this in over half a century, where they've actually gone 10-0 the way that they did and unbeaten this year. This is going to be a 5 o'clock kickoff in Denver City, and then Irvin on the road against West Plains. Woo, that's a tough one. Seminole will host that one, a 5 o'clock kick. Out of the 3A ranks, we don't talk about this too much, but let's talk about it. Anthony 2-8. They're taking on Wall 10-0. Oof, man. Yeah, some tough matchups on Thursday, but this is the Texas State playoffs, Zay. I mean, you get in the playoffs if you're a team like Bel Air or like a Hanks, who's kind of that last seed going in, you're running into a buzzsaw. And then on the flip side, when you're talking about a top seed like Ysleta, that 4A is tough, man. I mean, you're going up against Canyon. Again, don't be fooled by the record, 6-4. That's a team who can win you some games, and they kind of like to grind out games on their side, and they've won some back-to-back games by touchdown or less, and that just shows you that they're a team who can eke out some of these wins. For Ysleta, they're high-flying. They can keep up offensively, but we'll see what happens here on Thursday. If they can advance and keep their perfect season alive, or if it ends in the bi-district round.
Gotta hope that, one of those 4A teams gets a win. And, of course, the one that everybody's going to lean on is Ysleta, right? They go 10-0 for the first time, like you said. And who knows how long? I think it was 1964. I think that's what I saw on Facebook right now.
Wow.
That was the last time they went undefeated. The last time they were outright district champions, it was sometime in the early 90s. I mean, this has been a historic season for the Ysleta Indians, and I think that they're going to be hungry going into this one. As is Canyon. They're licking their chops. They're trying to ruin Ysleta's perfect season in the first round of the playoffs. So that projects to be a really, really good game. And we all know about Ysleta's offense. It's going to come down to how many stops can their defense get. Because, look, Ysleta's going to score. They're going to score a lot. Can their defense get off the field on third down? similar to what you said about Del Valle. And then, with the rest of the games, like you said, you're going to run into some tough teams. You're going to run into these Amarillo, Palo-Duro, which color me surprised. It's weird seeing Palo-Duro 9-1. For a while there, it looked like they were stuck in a 4-seed, 3-seed purgatory, taking on Canateo every year. But, they've really found a way to find some success, and now they're one of the best teams in 2-5As. So excited about that one. I still think Hanks, phenomenal way to end off the year, built plenty of momentum, and going into this one, got to go out there, got to continue to build on what you've been doing. And win or lose, you still have so much momentum going into next year.
All right, let's talk about the gas station coin flip that will lead into Friday. What happened this past week in Amarillo, out of the Amarillo ranks, there was actually an ineligible player on Amarillo's side, and it cost them to forfeit basically 6 of their games. So their record is 3-7. If it wasn't that, Zay, it'd be something closer to 7-3, maybe even 9-1. I have to go back and look at exactly how many losses they would have had. But the point is, this team was great all season long. They played an ineligible player. They were they had to forfeit all these games. At the end, and I think our guys from Sun City Sit Rep are going to get a kick out of this story right here. At the end of the night, after all the games are over, these coaches meet together at a gas station. It's a Valero. And they all meet at this gas station. And there's TV reporters setting up, and there's somebody taking a video of it, and everybody's got a coin, and they're flipping. A coin flip in the state of Texas to get into the playoffs is what happened last week. And so you had a team in Amarillo who loses all these games by forfeit, not because they actually lost them, but by forfeit, who's in this predicament of like maybe being a 3 or 4 seed when it's all said and done. And then we'll get to the El Dorado part of it later, but I think what we need to do, Zay, is I think we need to build a statue at that gas station and say something like, this is where the Texas State playoffs decided the 5A coin flip. And are we ever going to get to a different point where the computer could tell us, or AI could tell us, who actually gets into the playoffs instead of a coin?
I hope not. I hope we're doing coin flips in like 2090, because that's Texas high school football at its finest. If you follow Texas high school football, chances are you've seen the movie Friday Night Lights. You've seen the scene where it really looks like it's straight out of a movie, where they do a coin flip for the final spot in the playoffs. Well, that happens in real life, and it happens. It happened a lot back in the 1980s, 1990s. Doesn't happen as much here. 2025, like you said, we have so much, tiebreakers, this and the third, but sometimes it does get to that point where you gotta be the odd man out to get into the playoffs when you flip that coin. And I gotta say, Amarillo, shout out to them, because it genuinely, they needed so much to go right just to even get to that moment in the coin flip. Like, going into that last game, they needed to win their game. They needed somebody else to win their game as well. And they needed Lubbock to beat whoever they were playing. Now, Lubbock High, all respect to them, they are like the Socorro of Lubbock, or the Socorro of, the Panhandle, West Texas, the Plains, whatever you want to call it. They don't win a lot of football games. And they went into their final district matchup and they upset, I think it was Cap Rock or something. It was a huge win. They were in that coin flip as well. And, Amarillo, they had to move some things around. They somehow sneak into the playoffs, and that's a tough team to draw when you're the 1 seed in El Dorado.
Yeah, perfect segue to talk about and preview this game. 6:30 kickoff on Friday. El Dorado's had such a great year, right? Bryson Booth, gonna be the truth next year. He was 50% the truth this year, and he did a good job. Next year is kind of that year, but this is the year where they have everything together. They have Sanders, they have Estrada, and Estrada kind of took the bulk of the carries in a big game that they had against Americas to seal the deal for them on their side. And you look at this squad, you look at this team right here, and you look at El Dorado at 9-1 taking on this Amarillo team. Last year, a little disappointing exit in the bi-district round of the playoffs for El Dorado. This year, unfortunate draw. So now while the expectations are high with the Aztecs, they're going up against a team in Amarillo High who is so good, so good. And now you're so concerned about what's going to happen next. How do they get things done? And I worry about El Dorado in this situation. I feel bad for them because of the way things landed, because of the way the coin flipped. But at the same time, I have high expectations for this group because of how last year ended. I want this team to come out on top, even though it's a tougher squad. So the onus is on you, El Dorado. Go out there and beat a team who right now is a 3-7 team, which in reality should probably be an 8-9 win team.
Yeah, and you said, you want them to succeed because of how last year ended. Last year ended with a 45-14 loss to guess who? The Amarillo Sandies. I mean, can't make this up any better. Amarillo on their way to hosting a playoff game. They, the whole ineligible player, all that stuff happens, and now El Dorado gets a chance at revenge. And look, when you have a guy like Ryan Estrada, and we talked about this last week, this is the window. You don't have opportunities like this almost ever. He's a once in a generational type prospect. And I feel good saying that because he genuinely is, right? You're talking about the Jake Fettys of the world. Ryan Estrada's right up there with him. He's going to be playing big time football in the Big Ten. And you have not lifted a by-district trophy. I think maybe year one. I don't think so. I don't think so, right? They have not lifted a by-district trophy. You got a couple district titles under your belt, but everybody knows that by-district title is a little bit sweeter, just a little bit, especially when you're playing a team from out of town like Amarillo. So, look, the time is now. You got to strike while it's hot. Like you said, Jadarius Sanders, Brian Estrada, Rashawn Bryant, right? That high-flying offense is full of seniors, and you got to strike now. This is it. Your opportunity is here. Throw the kitchen sink, right? Amarillo sneaks into the playoffs, but they're not, they're a great team, right? But you're going to have a shot. You're at home. Throw the kitchen sink, man. You got to win this one.
We'll get to 6A in a bit. Let's stick with 5A, but we'll go with 5A Division 2, and let's talk a little Andress. Wichita Falls Memorial, they're 7-3, taking on an Andress Eagles squad who's 8-2. And Andress overachieved. We talked about a year too early. They're here. I mean, they're here. We thought they would be maybe a year away. They're here now in 2025, and they proved it. They got, when it was all said and done, one of the top overall seeds, and they deserved it. They earned a lot of this stuff that came their way. So really happy about them. Really happy about the success that we saw from Andress all season long, and now going up against a Wichita Falls Memorial team. It's the same kind of concept right here. And head coach Chris Taylor, he's done a great job with this group, even weathering some of the storms that they've had with injuries kind of coming their way. Mello Jones was one of the bright spots of their team. Jamari Milton too, Avant Clayton. I mean, they've got a lot of dudes on their side, not to mention their O-line and D-line, man. They deserve a ton of credit. Offensive line and defensive line, both sides of the ball for Andress. You can look back at the Chapin game. They won that game because of their offensive line and their defensive line. You could look back in that Valle game. They're staying in that game because of their O-line, D-line, and all of that. And they're able to swiftly beat Canutillo the way that they did last week because they're winning in the trenches. So a lot of praise needs to go to this group right here. And I'm just excited to see what this squad does moving forward.
Yeah, me too. And look, Andress, great year. The only I guess issue I'd have is look, I still don't know where I stand on this team. Like going into this playoff game, you usually have an outlook. Okay, this one's gonna be close. This one's gonna be a blowout, or this team probably has a good shot to win. I don't know where I stand with this Andress team. One, because Wichita Falls Memorial, I don't know how they're the 4th seed. I really don't. That is a team that's really good. I think they were the 2 seed last year. And 2, the toughest teams that Andress have played are Del Valle, El Dorado, and Chapin. And those games, they tell me something, right? They lose that opener to El Dorado in a weird, low-scoring affair. Got the shootout against Del Valle, and you got the blowout against Chapin. I don't know where I stand on this team. I know they're talented. I know they have it. I'm just interested to see how they'll match up with a team like Memorial. And look, if they can get Carmelo Jones back, they have a good shot to win this one. They're already hosting. It's going to come down to, how good can Jamari Milton play in this? Can he really Can they let him loose? Can he sling the ball? Because he has the weapons. They have the weapons that they can match up with almost anybody, in 2-5A, right? But it's going to come down, like you said, the trenches. Defensively, can they get off the field? And can Jamari Milton really, really air that ball out? Because they're going to need it. They're going to need it.
Chapin on the road, 7-3. Chapin on the road at Abilene Cooper, 6-4. That's a really tough matchup right there for the Huskies. Other 5A games: Parkland 3-7 at Amarillo, Tascosa 6-4. Another brutal matchup right there. And Parkland, they've struggled. They were automatically in because of the way that district stacked up. And then other ones that you could look at: Lubbock, Monterey coming to town, by the way, 6-4 against Americas, who's also 6-4. That one's going to be at the SAC this weekend on Friday. I don't know if I have a lot of expectations for any of those 5A teams right there, the way it stacks for them.
Yeah, I mean, Monterey making their second trip to the Sun City had a shootout with Franklin, and we all know the way that Franklin handled America, so it'll be a tough game. But Cam Johnson, Maurice Edwards, I think they can keep them in it offensively. And America's defense is going to need to step up, though. They've really struggled throughout the year. And for Chapin, I mean, they're taking on a Cooper team that I think they've only lost to one El Paso team ever. I think it was Valle last year, actually. And like you said, a tough draw. Cooper's a lot better this year. Got a good running back. Beat him a few years back here in El Paso. Davion Singleton, can he keep you in that one for how long? And that defense, they've been really hit or miss. Some games are looking great. Other games, you're having a tough draw against Hanks or a team like Andress. That defense is going to be the key in that one. And then for Parkland, find a way to keep yourself in that one if you can. Jesse Molina, he's going to need to have a game of his life against a team like that. But for the most part, like you said, I don't know what the expectations are with those. Just got to hope that somebody, I mean, an El Paso team winning any one of those games, it would be an upset.
That's a huge win. That's a huge win. And I agree with you. 4A ranks Dumas 7-3 taking on Riverside 8-2 in Denver City. Austin 7-3 taking on Canyon Randall 8-2 in Wink. Switching it over to 6A Division 1. Franklin, unfortunate draw for them, couldn't host. They're on the road at Midland Legacy, who's 5-5. Franklin 8-2, and then Eastlake 5-5 at Odessa Permian 9-1. Look, Zay, you're jumping on the bus and you're driving 5+ hours, and you're asking the team to get loose after driving 5+ hours on the same day, travel and play that game the same day. That's a tough team. Tough task for any of these teams out there. Even if you're a Franklin, even if you're a team like Riverside who's 8-2, even if you're a team like Austin who's 7-3, like that's a tough task in itself. And it's like as soon as you step onto the bus, it's a mental battle that you have to go up against with everybody else. So I don't know what to expect, man. I think that Franklin and Eastlake were battle tested in non-district play. Does that translate to wins in the bi-district round? I don't know. I don't know if they have it in the tank to do something like this. And I think you can make the argument that Franklin's still looking for that signature win under their belt. I think they beat all the teams that they should have beaten, and now they're kind of looking for that signature victory to close out the year. And this could be it. Bi-district round against Midland Legacy. They're going to be rocking over there in that matchup right there. And so you're hoping that Franklin could get on a bus, travel 5 hours, and have some success in bi-district.
Yeah, I mean, out there, Odessa, Midland, they love their football. They had a whole movie made about it. So, I mean, yeah, it's going to be rocking out there for Franklin to go into that hostile environment. We've talked about it all year long. Ernie Powers, this is it. This is it for him. If he can have a big game, I don't know what else he could do to get some offers, right? If he leads Franklin to a win, 200+ yards, man, I mean, he's putting the team on his back. Greg Jennings, if you know what I mean, right? And look, it's going to be a tough game. They aired the ball out a little bit against Pebble Hills. They're going to need to do that again against Legacy. And look, like you said, it's a tough draw. Don't get to host because of the weird big school, small school thing. Got to go in there with the underdog mentality. Got to find a way. You got to find it. That'd be a huge win for 6A. And look, Legacy's a good team, but when it comes to hosting in 2-6A, you're usually going to be playing maybe a 7-3, 8-2 squad. Legacy, they're battle tested, but they only have, I think, 6 or 5 wins. we'll see in that one. Legacy's still a really good team. Got high hopes for Franklin, though. I'll say that. I got high hopes for Franklin. Don't want to make any predictions, but they're going to have a shot.
Okay. Well, let's switch it over to, I feel like it's our Warrior Allegiance game of the week. It's the playoff game that we've got our eyes set on. It's going to be in East El Paso, and it's going to be rocking. Wolfforth Frenship, 4-6 coming to town. Again, don't be fooled by the record. 4-6 means nothing when you're in a stacked district like Frenship is in. Going up against the Eastwood Troopers, 9-1 on the year, haven't lost to any team in the state of Texas. They were 9-0 against Texas teams all year long. Only lost to St. John Bosco, as we spoke about earlier. In this matchup, Wolfforth Frenship off back-to-back losses. They lost to Permian, lost to San Angelo Central. In fact, they were blown out against San Angelo Central just last week. On the flip side, Eastwood, their strong point is their defense. I love what they've done defensively this year, all year long. You can look at their D-line. You can look at their linebackers who are hard-hitting in the running back groups or against running backs. I love their secondary. I think this is the best secondary I've seen from Julio Lopez coach squads, and it's a testament to what this defense has been able to do all year long. And look at what they've done, in their secondary. They'll plug and play guys. Jude Walker, walk-off interception for a touchdown against Coronado to hang on and win that game. You look at guys like Matthew Yarbrough, outstanding all year long and has kind of been an unsung hero for them in that secondary. They are great against the pass. That's what their strong point is defensively. On offense, they'll do enough to make you pay, and it's going to still be the Julio Lopez led offense where they're going to take risks, they're going to take gambles, they're going to go for it on fourth down, and they're going to rely on their quarterback and junior Kingston Jeffrey, who's Kingston Jeffries has been outstanding all year long, and his wide receivers have been good, but the running game has been really solid. I love the running game and the way that they've been able to balance things out on the ground for them. So give me your big spotlight on who you're looking at for this matchup on the Eastwood side of things, and how you see this one.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like Eastwood has just gotten better and better through every game. And you called it early. You called it pretty early on. They could be the best team in the city. It ends up coming to fruition. And like you said, that defense, Matt Yarbrough, I'm a big fan of him. Had some early picks in the early season games, and that secondary. Reiterating what you said, they're really, really good. And I like Matthew Ramirez. He's a good running back. I really think he projects to be super talented in the future as well. They're going to need him. They're going to need to run the ball. And if this offense can play to the level that we've seen them in the past, where they just control the game, really, they play off how their defense plays, and it's demoralizing for the other team, right? When a team like Eastwood, maybe they get turnover, something like that, and they kind of just, I wouldn't say they smash it down your throat, but they waste a lot of time, they hold on to the ball, and they score on these long drives, and so demoralizing as a team, and especially as a defense. So they can find ways to do that, continue doing that at a high level. I really like their chances to win. Probably the best chance out of all the teams hosting, out of really any team in El Paso. They have the best chance to win this one just because they are so good this year. And then, of course, Frenship, don't be fooled by the record. You said it earlier. They're going to be a tough draw no matter what. I mean, I think they went pretty far in the playoffs a couple of years ago. They even beat Eastwood here in an 80 to 60 game. It was really weird. It was a basketball score. I know Julio Lopez remembers that. I know they're going to be ready for this one, and I can't wait. I can't wait for that because always a great atmosphere out there at Trooper Stadium.
It always is, and I think it's a great way for us to wrap up the bi-district round here on Football Friday Night. The outlook here this week, it's going to be exciting. There's a lot of excitement when it comes to the in-town matchups, and then for the out-of-town teams, it's El Paso versus everybody in the Texas State playoffs, whether it's 4A, 5A, 6A. We're keeping our eyes on all these games, so we'll be in action Friday. Thanks to Warrior Allegiance for our big game of the week. Eastwood taking on Frenship coming up on Friday. All of our reporters, all of our studio hosts will be in action this weekend, and we're so excited for all the action that's going to really, really heat up here come Friday. And want to give a special thanks to Zay Galindo. Want to give a special thanks to Sun City Sit Rep and VP Marketing. Like I mentioned to start off the show, if you're looking to start a podcast, if you're a business owner with a great story, reach out, slide in the DMs, contact Sun City Sit Rep or VP Marketing. Check them out online, vpmarketing915.com, and reach out to them. Let them know that you're interested in being a guest on the podcast. They have weekly conversations on their YouTube channel. Subscribe. Make sure that you tune in to all the great stuff. They can develop some micro content for you that you can share on your social media page. And that's all here with Sun City Sit Rep and VP Marketing. For Zay Galindo, I'm Adrian Broaddus. We are signing off here today and saying so long. Thank you for listening. We'll be back in action next week for the area round of the Texas State playoffs as the season winds down here for Football Friday night, right here on Sun City Sit Rep.